Oda Nobunaga, June 23, 1534 – June 21, 1582, was a powerful daimyo of Japan in the late 16th century who attempted to unify Japan during the late Sengoku period. The goal of national unification and a return to the comparative political stability of the earlier Muromachi period was widely shared by the multitude of autonomous daimyo during the Sengoku period. Oda Nobunaga, however, was the first for which this goal seemed attainable. Nobunaga had gained control over most of Honshu before his death during the 1582 Honnō-ji incident, a coup attempt executed by Nobunaga's vassal, Akechi Mitsuhide. It is not certain if Nobunaga was killed in the attack or if he committed seppuku. The motivation of Mitsuhide's betrayal was never revealed to anyone who survived the incident, and has been a subject of debate and conjecture ever since the incident. Following the incident, Akechi Mitsuhide declared himself master over Nobunaga's domains but was quickly defeated by Toyotomi Hideyoshi, who regained control of and greatly expanded the Oda holdings. Oda Nobunaga's successful subjugation of much of Honshu enabled the later successors of his allies Toyotomi Hideyoshi and Tokugawa Ieyasu toward the goal of national unification by subjugating local daimyo under a hereditary shogunate, which would ultimately be accomplished in 1603 when Tokugawa Ieyasu was granted the title of shogun by Emperor Go-Yozei following the successful Sekigahara campaign of 1600. The nature of the succession of power through the three daimyo is reflected in the Japanese idiom, Nobunaga pounds the national rice cake, Hideyoshi kneads it, and in the end Ieyasu sits down and eats it. Early years. Oda Nobunaga was born on June 23, 1534 in the Owari domain, and was given the childhood name of Kipposhi. He was the second son of Oda Nobuhide, a deputy shugo with landholdings in Owari province. He is said to have been born in Nagoya Castle, although this is subject to debate. Through his childhood and early teenage years, he was well known for his bizarre behavior and received the name of Owari no Outsuki. He was known to run around with other youths from the area without any regard to his own rank in society. With the introduction of firearms into Japan, though, he became known for his fondness of Tanegashima firearms. Unification of Owari province. In 1551, Oda Nobuhide died unexpectedly. Nobunaga was said to have acted outrageously during his funeral, throwing ceremonial incense at the altar. This convinced many Oda retainers of Nobunaga's mediocrity and lack of discipline. Alienated, they then began to side with his soft-spoken and well-mannered brother, Nobuyuki. Hirata Mitsuhide, a valuable mentor and retainer to Nobunaga, was ashamed by Nobunaga's behavior and performed seppuku. This had a huge effect on Nobunaga, who later built a temple to honor Mitsuhide. Succession dispute. Though Nobunaga was Nobuhide's legitimate successor, the Oda clan was divided into many factions, and the clan was technically under the control of Owari's Shuga Chiba Yoshimune. Oda Nobutomo, the deceased Nobuhide's brother and deputy to the Shugo, used the weak Yoshimune as his puppet and challenged Nobunaga's place as Owari's new ruler. Nobutomo murdered Yoshimune when it was discovered that he supported and attempted to aid Nobunaga. Nobunaga persuaded Oda Nobumatsu, a younger brother of Nobuhide, to join his side and, with Nobumatsu's help, slew Nobutomo in Kyoto Castle, which later became Nobunaga's place of residence for over 10 years. Taking advantage of the position of Shiba Yoshikana, Yoshimune's son, as the rightful Shugo, Nobunaga forged an alliance with the Imagawa clan of Tsuruga Province and the Kira clan of Mikawa Province, as both clans had the same shugo and would have no excuse to decline. This also ensured that the Imagawa clan would have to stop attacking Owari's borders. Though Nobuyuki and his supporters were still at large, Nobunaga brought an army to Mino Province to aid Sato Dosun after Dosun's son, Sato Yoshitatsu, turned against him. The campaign failed, as Dosun was killed in the Battle of Nagaragawa, and Yoshitatsu became the new master of Mino in 1556. Elimination of Nobuyuki. A few months later, Nobuyuki, with support from Shibata Katsui and Hayashi Hide-Sada, rebelled against Nobunaga. The conspirators were defeated at the Battle of Ino, but were pardoned after the intervention of Tsukadai Gozen, the birth mother of Nobunaga and Nobuyuki. The next year, Nobuyuki again planned to rebel. Nobunaga was informed of this by Shibata Katsui, then faked illness to get close to Nobuyuki and assassinated him in Kiyosu Castle. In 1558, he protected Suzuki Shigetaro in the siege of Terubi. By 1559, Nobunaga had eliminated all opposition within the clan and Owari province. He continued to use Shiba Yoshikana as a pretext to make peace with other daimyo, though it was later discovered that Yoshikana had secretly corresponded with the Kira and Imagawa clans, attempting to oust Nobunaga and restore the Shiba clan's place. Nobunaga eventually cast him out, voiding alliances created in the Shiba clan's name. Rise to power. Battle of Okazama in 1560, Imagawa Yoshimoto gathered an army of 40,000 men and started his march toward Kyoto, with the pretext of aiding the frail Ashikaga shogunate. The Matsudaira clan of Mikawa province also joined Yoshimoto's forces. Against this, the Oda clan could rally an army of only 2,000 to 3,000. Some of Nobunaga's advisors suggested to stand a siege at Kiyosu. Nobunaga refused, stating that only a strong offensive policy could make up for the superior numbers of the enemy, and calmly ordered a counterattack. Nobunaga's scouts reported that Yoshimoto was resting at the narrow gorge of Dengaku Hazama, ideal for a surprise attack, and that the Imagawa army were celebrating the victories while Yoshimoto viewed the heads. Nobunaga moved towards Imagawa's camp, and set up a position some distance away. An array of flags and dummy troops made of straw and spare helmets gave the impression of a large host, while the rear Oda army hurried round in a rapid march to get behind Yoshimoto's camp. The heat gave way to a terrific thunderstorm. As the Imagawa samurai sheltered from the rain, Nobunaga deployed his troops, and when the storm ceased they charged down upon the enemy in the gorge. So suddenly that Yoshimoto thought a brawl had broken out among his men, only realizing it was an attack when two samurai charged up. One aimed a spear at him, which Yoshimoto deflected with his sword, but the second swung his blade and cut off Imagawa's head. Rapidly weakening in the wake of this battle, the Imagawa clan no longer exerted control over the Matsudaira clan. In 1561, an alliance was forged between Oda Nobunaga and Matsudaira Motoyasu, despite the decades-old hostility between the two clans. Nobunaga also formed an alliance with Takeda Shingen through the marriage of his daughter to Shingen's son. A similar relationship was forged when Nobunaga's sister Oichi married Ozai Nagamasa of Omi province. Tradition dates this battle as the first time that Nobunaga noticed the talents of the sandal-bearer who would eventually become Toyotomi Hideyoshi. Siege of Inabayama Castle in Mino. Sato Yoshiteru Tatsu died suddenly of illness in 1561, and was succeeded by his son, Sato Tatsuoki. Tatsuoki, however, was young and much less effective as a ruler and military strategist compared to his father and grandfather. Taking advantage of this situation, Nobunaga moved his base to Komoki Castle and started his campaign in Mino at the 1561 Battle of Morib. By convincing Sato retainers to abandon their incompetent and foolish master, Nobunaga weakened the Sato clan significantly, eventually mounting a final attack in 1567. Nobunaga captured Inobeyama Castle and sent Tatsuoki into exile. After taking possession of the castle, Nobunaga changed the name of both the castle and the surrounding town to Gifu. Remains of Nobunaga's residence in Gifu can be found today in Gifu Park, naming it after the legendary Mount Qi in China on which the Zhou dynasty started. Nobunaga revealed his ambition to conquer the whole of Japan. He also started using a new personal seal that read Tenkafubu, which means "all the world by force of arms" or "rule the empire by force." Campaign in Kyoto in 1568. Ashikaga Yoshiaki went to Gifu to ask Nobunaga to start a campaign toward Kyoto. Yoshiaki was the brother of the murdered 13th shogun of the Ashikaga shogunate, Yoshiteru, and wanted revenge against the killers who had already set up a puppet shogun, Ashikaga Yoshihide. Nobunaga agreed to install Yoshiaki as the new shogun and, grasping the opportunity to enter Kyoto, started his campaign. An obstacle in southern Omi province, however, was the Rokkaku clan. Led by Rokkaku Yoshikata, the clan refused to recognize Yoshiaki as shogun and was ready to go to war. In response, Nobunaga launched a rapid attack, driving the Rokkaku clan out of the castles. Within a short amount of time, Nobunaga had reached Kyoto and driven the Miyoshi clan out of the city. Yoshiaki was made the 15th shogun of the Ashikaga shogunate. Nobunaga refused the post of Kanrei, and eventually began to restrict the powers of the shogun, making it clear that he intended to use him as a facade to justify his future conquests. Yoshiaki, however, was not pleased about being a puppet and secretly corresponded with various daimyo, forging an anti-Nobunaga alliance. Campaign against rival daimyo. Battle of Anaga, where the Asakura clan was particularly disdainful of the Oda clan's increasing power because, furthermore, Asakura Yoshikage had also protected Ashikaga Yoshiaki, but had not been willing to march toward Kyoto. When Nobunaga launched a campaign into the Asakura clan's domain, Azai Nagamasa, to whom Oichi was married, broke the alliance with Oda to honor the Azai-Asakura alliance which had lasted for generations. With the help of Igo rebels, the anti-Nobunaga alliance sprang into full force, taking a heavy toll on the Oda clan. At the Battle of Anagawa, Tokugawa Ieyasu joined forces with Nobunaga and defeated the combined forces of the Asakura and Azai clans. The Enryakuji monastery on Mount Hiei, with its Soha of the Tendai school who aided the anti-Nobunaga group by helping Azai-Asakura alliance, was an issue for Nobunaga since the monastery was so close to his base of power. Nobunaga attacked Enryakuji and razed it in October 1571, killing monks, laymen, women and children in the process. The whole mountainside was a great slaughterhouse, and the sight was one of unbearable horror. Siege of Nagashima and Nishiyama Honganji. During the siege of Nagashima, Nobunaga suffered tremendous losses to the Ikoiki resistance opposed samurai rule. The siege finally ended when Nobunaga surrounded the enemy complex and set fire to it, killing tens of thousands. He later succeeded in taking the main stronghold at Ishiyama Honganji after an 11-year siege that ended with its surrender. Battle of Nagashino. One of the strongest rulers in the anti-Nobunaga Nobunaga alliance was Takeda Shingen. In spite of his generally peaceful relationship and a nominal alliance with the Oda clan, in 1572, at the urgings of the shogun, Shingen decided to make a drive for the capital, starting with invading Tokugawa territory. Tied down on the western front, Nobunaga sent lackluster aid to Ieyasu, who suffered defeat at the Battle of Mokatagahara in 1573. However, after the battle, Tokugawa's forces launched night raids and convinced Takeda of an imminent counterattack, thus saving the vulnerable Tokugawa with the bluff. This would play a pivotal role in Tokugawa's philosophy of strategic patience in his campaigns with Oda Nobunaga. Shortly thereafter, the Takeda forces were neutralized after Shingen died from a shot to the head in April 1573. This was a relief for Nobunaga because he could now focus on Yoshiaki, who had openly declared hostility more than once. Despite the imperial court's intervention, Nobunaga was able to defeat Yoshiaki's forces and send him into exile, bringing the Ashikaga shogunate to an end in the same year. Also in 1573, Nobunaga successfully destroyed the Asakura and Hizai clans, leading Hizai Nagamasa to send Oichi back to Nobunaga and commit suicide. With Nagashima's destruction in 1574, the only threat to Nobunaga was the Takeda clan, now led by Takeda Katsuyori. At the decisive Battle of Nagashino, the combined forces of Nobunaga and Tokugawa Ieyasu devastated the Takeda clan with the strategic use of arquebuses. Nobunaga compensated for the arquebus slow reloading time by arranging the arquebusiers in 3 lines. After each line fired, it would duck and reload as the next line fired. The bullets were able to pierce the Takeda cavalry armor, who were pushed back and killed by incoming fire. Further, Nobunaga continued his expansion, sending Shibata Katsui and Midatoshi to the north and Akechi Mitsuhide to Tamba province. Surrender of Ishiyama Honganji. In 1574, Nobunaga accepted the title of Kuga. Then in 1577 he was given the title of Minister of the Right, the third highest position in the imperial court. The Oda clan's siege of Ishiyama Honganji in Osaka made some progress, but the Mori clan of the Chugoku region broke the naval blockade and started sending supplies into the strongly fortified complex by sea. As a result, in 1577, Hashibu Hideyoshi was ordered to expand west to confront the Mori clan. However, Uesugi Kenshin, said to be the greatest general of his time since the demise of Takeda Shingen, took part in the Second Anti-Oda Alliance. Following his conquest of neighboring forces, the two sides clashed during the Battle of Tadorigawa, which resulted in a decisive Uesugi victory. It was around this time that Uesugi forces began preparations to march on Kyoto. Due to his defeat, Nobunaga's expansion in Noto, Kaga, and Echu province area stagnated. But Kenshin, who prepared to move his armies again after the battle, died from a possible cerebral hemorrhage before moving them. After Kenshin's death and much confusion among his successors, Nobunaga started his campaign again on this area. Nobunaga forced the Ishiyama Honganji to surrender in 1580 and destroyed the Takeda clan in 1582. Nobunaga's administration was at its height of power, and he was about to launch invasions into Echigo province and Shikoku. Coup at Honnō-ji and De. In 1582, Nobunaga's former sandal-bearer Hashibu Hideyoshi invaded Bichu province, laying siege to Takamatsu Castle. The castle was vital to the Mori clan, and losing it would leave the Mori home domain vulnerable. Led by Mori Teramoto, reinforcements arrived outside Takamatsu Castle, and the two sides came to a standstill. Hideyoshi asked for reinforcements from Nobunaga. It has often been argued that Hideyoshi had no need for reinforcements but asked Nobunaga anyway for various reasons. Most believe that Hideyoshi, envied and hated by fellow generals for his swift rise from a lowly footman to a top general under Oda Nobunaga, wanted to give the credit for taking Takamatsu to Nobunaga so as to humble himself in front of other Oda vassals. In any case, Nobunaga ordered Nobunaga to prepare for an invasion of Shikoku's and Akechi Mitsuhide to assist Hideyoshi. En route to Chugoku region, Nobunaga stayed at Honnō-ji, a temple in Kyoto. Since Nobunaga would not expect an attack in the middle of his firmly controlled territories, he was guarded by only a few dozen personal servants and bodyguards. His son Nobunaga stayed at Myokakuji, a temple on the grounds of Nijo Palace, the forerunner to Nijo Castle. Mitsuhide chose the time to attack. On June 21, 1582, Mitsuhide took a unit of his men and surrounded the Honnō-ji while sending another unit of Akechi troops to assault Myokakuji, initiating a full coup d'etat. At Honnō-ji, Nobunaga's small entourage was soon overwhelmed, and as the Akechi troops closed in on the burning temple where Nobunaga had been residing, he decided to commit seppuku in one of the inner rooms. Unknown to Nobunaga, his son Nobunaga died in the fighting before the temple where he was staying. At Honnō-ji, only his young page Mori Ranmaru remained at his master's side. He was still in his teens. Ranmaru's loyalty and devotion to his lord were widely known and praised during the Edo period. He attended to Nobunaga as he sought a moment of peace to carry out his last act. Then Ranmaru likewise killed himself in the same way. The cause of Mitsuhide's betrayal is controversial. It has been proposed that Mitsuhide may have heard a rumor that Nobunaga would transfer Mitsuhide's fief to the page Mori Ranmaru, with whom Nobunaga is alleged to have been in a ritualized homosexual relationship, a form of patronage known as shudo. Other motives include revenge for Nobunaga's numerous insults and derisive treatment of Mitsuhide, or Mitsuhide's jealousy as Nobunaga had shown greater favor toward another vassal, Hashiba Hideyoshi. Another possible motive is for revenge, as Akechi Mitsuhide's mother was killed because Nobunaga had gone against a peace treaty that he had previously agreed to. In 1579, Nobunaga captured Yukami Castle from Hateno Hideharu by promising Hideharu peace terms. This accomplished Mitsuhide's goal, although Nobunaga betrayed the peace agreement and had Hideharu executed. According to several stories, this displeased the Hateno family, and a short while later several of Hideharu's retainers murdered Akechi Mitsuhide's mother. The situation was fueled through several public insults Nobunaga had directed at Mitsuhide that even drew the attention of some Western observers. However, Mitsuhide's actual motive for attacking Nobunaga at Honnō-ji is not known. Just 11 days after the coup at Honnō Temple, Mitsuhide was killed at the Battle of Yamazaki, and his army was defeated by Hashiba Hideyoshi, who eventually became heir to Nobunaga's legacy. He is more widely known as Toyotomi Hideyoshi. At the time of Nobunaga's death, he was in control of more than half of the provinces in Japan, the majority of which were in the Kyoto region. Nobunaga, Hideyoshi, and Ieyasu. Hideyoshi was brought up from a nameless peasant to be one of Nobunaga's top generals. When he became a Grand Minister in 1586, he created a law that the samurai caste became codified as permanent and heritable. and that non-samurai were forbidden to carry weapons, thereby ending the social mobility of Japan from which he himself had benefited. He was even said to divert rivers to flood enemy villages and clans. These restrictions lasted until the dissolution of the Edo shogunate by the Meiji Restoration revolutionaries. Hideyoshi secured his claim as the rightful successor of Nobunaga by defeating Akechi Mitsuhide within a month of Nobunaga's death. It is important to note that the distinction between samurai and non-samurai was so obscure that during the 16th century, most male adults in any social class belonged to at least one military organization of their own and served in wars before and during Hideyoshi's rule. It can be said that an all-against-all situation continued for a century. The authorized samurai families after the 17th century were those that chose to follow Nobunaga, Hideyoshi, and Ieyasu. Large battles occurred during the change between regimes, and a number of defeated samurai were destroyed, became ronin, or were absorbed into the general populace. Ieyasu had shared his childhood with Nobunaga as a hostage of the Oda clan. Though there were a number of battles between him and the Oda clan, Ieyasu eventually switched sides and became one of Nobunaga's strongest allies. Policies. Militarily, Nobunaga changed the way war was fought in Japan. He developed, implemented, and expanded the use of long pikes, firearms and castle fortifications in accordance with the expanded mass battles of the period. The firearms that were introduced by the Portuguese had allowed the establishment of firearm brigades in the army. Once the two important musket factories in Sakai City and Omi Province were conquered, it gave Nobunaga superior firepower over his enemies. Nobunaga also instituted a specialized warrior class system and appointed his retainers and subjects to positions based on ability, not wholly based on name, rank, or family relationship as in prior periods. Retainers were also given land on the basis of rice output, not land size. Nobunaga's organizational system in particular was later used and extensively developed by his ally Tokugawa Ieyasu in the forming of the Tokugawa shogunate in Edo. Nobunaga's dominance and brilliance was not restricted to the battlefield. He also was a keen businessman and understood the principles of microeconomics and macroeconomics. First, in order to modernize the economy from an agricultural base to a manufacture and service base, castle towns were developed as the center and basis of local economies. Roads were also made within his domain between castle towns to not only facilitate trade, but also to move armies great distances in short time spans. International trade was also expanded beyond China and the Korean peninsula, while non-bound trade with Europe, the Philippines, Siam, and Indonesia was also started. Nobunaga also instituted rakuichi rakuza policies as a way to stimulate business and the overall economy through the use of a free market system. These policies abolished and prohibited monopolies and opened once closed and privileged unions, associations and guilds, which he saw as impediments to commerce. Even though these policies provided a major boost to the economy, it was still heavily dependent on daimyo's support. Copies of his original proclamations can be found in Intukoji in the city of Gifu. He also developed tax exemptions and established laws to regulate and ease the borrowing of debt. Culture. As Nobunaga conquered Japan and amassed a great amount of wealth, he progressively supported the arts for which he always had an interest, but which he later and gradually more importantly used as a display of his power and prestige. He built extensive gardens and castles which were themselves great works of art. Azuchi castle on the shores of Lake Biwa is said to have been the greatest castle in the history of Japan, covered with golden statues on the outside and decorated with standing screen, sliding door, wall, and ceiling paintings made by his subject Kano Itoku on the inside. During this time, Nobunaga's subject and tea master Sengoku established the Japanese tea ceremony, which Nobunaga popularized and used originally as a way to talk politics and business. The beginnings of modern kabuki were started and later fully developed in the early Edo period. Additionally, Nobunaga was very interested in European culture, which was still very new to Japan. He collected pieces of Western art as well as arms and armor, and he is considered to be among the first Japanese people in recorded history to wear European clothes. He also became the patron of the Jesuit missionaries in Japan and supported the establishment of the first Christian church in Kyoto in 1576, although he never converted to Christianity.